Hey guys, Jet888 here. It is November 8th. I'm just going to try to do a quick rundown on just an observation I made. So you've got Jordan Peterson being interviewed by Piers Morgan. And I just kind of think it's funny. So here's this guy, Piers Morgan, the guy on the left in the blue, interviewing Jordan Peterson. And not once during this interview does he say, hey, Jordan, what's going on with your little court jester type of outfit here? I mean, what really is going on with it? Don't you think that would kind of be one of the first things you sort of asked? Like, what do you want to convey here? What do you want to tell the people? But he didn't do that. So that seems sort of strange. So it's also funny because this Piers Morgan versus Jordan Peterson on Israel-Hamas war and his "Give 'em hell" tweet, which I just think it's funny because I don't think they're on different sides. I think they're on the same side. And he also mentions Saudi Arabia too, so I'll get into that later. So just going quickly to the, what did he say, the Abraham Peace Accord process, and I'm just seeing this says the agreement was negotiated by Trump's senior advisor, Jared Kushner, who is totally pro-Israel, and Middle East envoy Avi Berkowitz, and marked Kushner. What does that mean? And marked Kushner. Berkowitz's fourth normalization agreement in as many months. As a component of the deal, the United States agreed to recognize Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara. So here they are, U.S. getting involved again in other people's life. Let's just see what happens to Morocco soon. Or Western Sahara. Let's just see what happens there in a little while. So here, the Abraham Accords Declaration, it says, we undersigned recognize the importance of maintaining and strengthening peace in the Middle East and around the world based on mutual understanding. That's right. How's that working for you so far? Huh? Looking at the anagram just for fun for Abraham Accords is a cobra's drachma. Look at that, a cobra's drachma. You know what a drachma is? Is that how you say it? Look at that. It's like a gold coin that has an owl on it. It's from Greek currency, ancient Greek currency. Here's another one. And do you see that little round thing with the dot? That's a symbol for the sun, just to let you know. As helicopters keep flying overhead. So back to Jordan, some things that I just couldn't help but kind of notice or think about. So looking at some anagrams, let's see. So Piers Morgan, and Piers, I think of water because everything seems to be around water. We have banks, we have currency, it just goes on and on. So here's Piers Morgan. And so the anagram here, it says rearming ops. And another one I came up with was gamer prison. So just looking at Jordan, his name, look with what's going on right now. It's kind of interesting, I thought. Jordan and Kofefi are exactly the same numerology. And back to Jordan, this says it's home to the famed archaeological site of Petra. And I thought Petra was funny because Petra is the sun god. It says a cult place in ancient Egypt. So Ra is the sun god, was largely worshipped in Heliopolis. How do you say that? Heliopolis, which was the cult place in ancient Egypt. So you look at that. Remember that little sign that means the sun? Remember the drachma from a cobra's drachma from Abraham Accords. So in the scheme of things, though, Egypt here is this way. And that's funny because remember the look, when I look at Israel, I see like a Baphomet head. And I covered all the beer words in Israel. So Egypt, though, is southwest of Jordan. And that's funny because there's Cairo, and you head up here a little bit. There's Petra. It's some digital printer, though, and there's your Heliopolis, kind of by the Cairo airport. That's in Egypt. I just want to make a quick note. This is all besides the point, but when I go in here and look at Gaza, this is Gaza, and anyone here can do this, but when I go and look at their map, I don't see a lot of damaged buildings or bombed buildings, which is kind of strange because the way we're getting reported and hearing, there should be a lot of bombings going on. I hear some kind of fire, it looks like, or something. What is that? Looks like it could definitely a big fire. It looks like things are totally flattened there. So this is like just rubble, but right next to it things look intact. Anyhow, okay, so, and then I go over here and looking at Israel with all their nice, I think I've covered this area here. Yeah, their little bomb shelter thing. And for some reason this won't focus, but because it's different, because when you go to look at Maui, you see everything's devastated, everything's burnt, and this won't focus for some reason. So maybe what are people, are things not going on how we're being told? Because I don't really see, look at that. They blurred everything out, so you can't really see anything. Anyhow, back to my little story here. I mean, this looks a little disturbing, doesn't it? Looks a little creepy. Okay, yeah, so back to the area of Jordan, and I looked at the words, it said Petra, which I just broke up to look at Pet-Ra, and then Ra being the sun god of Egypt. And then I also looked at the Shriners who have they say that they're not related at all to Egypt, but look at that. If you're not related at all to Egypt, why would you have a logo that looks like that? So I also just quickly looked at the Shriners, and it says, two master masons, Walter M. Fleming, MD, doctor, and William J. Billy Florence, a well-known actor, founded Shriners International in 1872. So images used in the fraternity's regalia include camels and pyramids. Kind of made me think of that pyramid, and then I thought of the word one and Neo. So one, like Neo, is also like the Matrix, but one being that little owl, the drachma. And then going back to look at Jordan's outfit that Piers Morgan said nothing about. Oh yeah, and Jordan Peterson, the anagram I got for him was a porn jester nod. And so anyhow, the Jester, because what his little outfit looks like a jester, but also what I saw was this Harley Quinn. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but see the outfit, the half and half kind of outfit. And this says Harley Quinn is a character appearing in America comic books produced by DC Comics, kind of like Washington, D.C., but DC Comics. She was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm for Batman, the animated series, as a henchwoman for the supervillain Joker, debuting on its 8th episode, Joker's Favor, on September 11th. And when I looked at the word Harley Quinn, it's the anagram is Hell Q any urn. To me, an urn, like, it's almost like just kill them any way you can. Here's some gematria for the Harley Quinn. Joseph Biden, Mark of the Beast, You Lied to Me, Henry Kissinger, and Jesuit Order. And also this Jesuit order, the Jewish gematria is 1223, and I kind of made me wonder about December here in 2023. But this Harlequin thing, birds of prey, she's got a bat in her hand. The Suicide Squad, Harley, Batman, Harley Quinn. So I went to look at the Suicide Squad. So here they have a picture of the Suicide Squad, August 5th here. Got a picture of the Joker, and you know, a lot of those things like in the background it says BAM or something like that. You got the BAM, and it's like Batman sort of, but there's your Joker. This little thing here, it says the Joker is one of the most iconic and popular villains in history. Then when you scroll down this mess of an illustration, it says also worst heroes ever, and that just reminded me a little bit of the Boring Company saying best video game ever. Do you guys remember when I showed you this door and this kid playing this little video game thing, and it's like a big portal door, but it's from the Boring Company that says the best video game ever? I just thought that was sort of weird. And of course you have your two X's there. So you got the X's, you've got these weird eyes. Of course you have the skull and crossbones. You've got these things that look like rockets, those cloud things that you would see with a rocket blaring down on you. There, of course, they're jets. You have the word good on its side, which is sort of weird with stars over it and flames. Targets and arrows, and anyhow, let's see what else I can see in here. It's just disturbing visuals. And there's your Shriner, your little half moon Shriner thing, that upside down. Oh yeah, and also when I was looking at the $1 bill, you know, the United States of America. So I looked at United States of America for anagrams, and it's feared tuts, emaciations. An emaciation is a state of being abnormally weak, thin or weak. Like they're kind of bleeding us dry, I think. That's, you know, after all the shots with all the soldiers and stuff and everyone, you know, our first line of defense are being needle crafted. Another anagram is UN's AI Meta Dictators Fee. So UN's AI Meta, and also Meta is also meet or team, but maybe it's just a fee that we're having to pay for these meta dictators. Who knows? We've seen trillions go out our doors, so who knows? UN's AI Meta Dictators Fee. I also came up with a couple others: Mafia Red State Counties and M8 Infectious Red State, because I think they're attacking us. So in this Suicide Squad thing too, you see the X, you see the mask, and then I went and looked at the trailer real quick. Oh, look, those flying things. What are those? Bats or something weird. So when it goes into Suicide Squad, you see these injections being given in their necks. They've got this X, which is a cross. They got the blue hair, the blue and pink hair. This guy's also getting an injection in his neck, and he's wearing a mask. I wonder, is that Bane or is that something different? There's also a big aircraft behind this metal fence with all these military looking guys. And here's Will Smith being dragged out again with an X. And then I saw these weird, everyone had a blue little tag thing. I didn't know what those were, but of course all those military people are masked up with this blue thing in the back, or as tags. And so I saw this too. It's OWF is One World Flag by Thomas Mandel. And what was weird when I went to go look at that, so in 2020, December 16th, there's your 1/6, 2020, this overview of the HASOC track at Fire 2020 hate speech and offensive language in Tamil, Malayalam, I don't know what that is, Hindi, English, and German. So they apparently had some meeting of hate speech by Thomas Mandel here, Sandip Modhal, I don't know those names. Proceedings of the 12th meeting of the Forum for Information Retrieval Evaluation. It says the publisher ACM, and this says, so this paper presents the HASOC track and its two parts. HASOC is dedicated to evaluate technology for finding offensive language and hate speech. So that's why, you know, you get deleted or something if you ever put out a video or whatever that they don't like. So bear with me, I'm just going to read this and maybe I'll put this up so it's clearer for you later. But HASOC is creating test collections for languages with few resources and English for comparison. The first track within HASOC has continued to work from 2019. What else happened in 2019? And provided a test bed of Twitter posts for Hindi, German, and English. When did Elon Musk buy Twitter? Do you know? So it concluded his sale on October 22nd of 2022. So there's your word acquisitions again. Remember that? Mergers and acquisitions, all there in one sentence. Remember, I've shown this a lot of times, mergers and acquisitions. It's like the maypole, the mayday, a tornado, hurricane, just total chaos. Anyhow, so this was doing tests for hate speech. So learning to evaluate technology and finding offensive language and hate speech. That's what this was about. So that's what kind of drew me to, for some reason, all those people, it was really obvious that they had these tags. They obviously wanted you to look at it. And so that's what brought me to Thomas Mandel, the technology that can find and track your offensive language and hate speech, called HASOC. And there's your anagram for HASOC. It's chaos. And it sort of looks like the military is in on it. So going back to that Suicide Squad thing, this says the government sends the most dangerous supervillains in the world: Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, Harley Quinn, there's your Harley Quinn, and others to the remote, enemy-infused islands of Corto Maltese. Armed with high-tech weapons, they trek through the dangerous jungle of a search and destroy mission with only Colonel Rick Flag, is that like false flag, on the ground to make them behave. So this was released August 6th. Director James Gunn, distributed by Warner Brothers from DC. So I also looked at the name Corto Maltese. Whenever I see a name that kind of doesn't really fit, you know, it's just sort of weird, I look into it. And so Corto Maltese, the anagram, here's two anagrams. Both have the words cremate in them. So Corto Maltese is cremate tools. That could be like your bombs or whatever they're doing to people. Soul to cremate, that could be sun, soul to cremate, or to cremate soul, S-O-U-L. So I just think it's sort of weird. This, the Suicide Squad, that was their description of it. What does that word say? Track? Does it say track? Can't really read it. So the cremate tools and soul to cremate. Soul kind of brought me back up to the Jordan, Petra, and Pet Ra, and Ra being the sun god, and they're all in the cult in ancient Egypt. So when you think of Egypt, sometimes what do you think of? So I think of the hieroglyphs. Is that how you say it? Hieroglyphs. So hieroglyphs were the formal writing system used in ancient Egypt for writing the Egyptian language. The later hieratic and demotic Egyptian scripts were derived from hieroglyphic writing. And it says also later evolved into the Phoenician alphabet. And I've looked into this, the Phoenician, it's like AI phone something, I can't remember. But looking at hieroglyphs, the anagram for hieroglyphs is higher, sly, op. And you know what also? I came up with the anagram for, what was it, Silicon Valley? And that's my anagram for Silicon Valley. It's like sly eco-villains, because they really are destroying the ecosystem, the economy, ecosystem. So this was also a picture that I saw. This was out of the Book of the Dead from Hunifer, and you notice the, sorry about the picture there. So here we have our scale, of course, the scales, and people who are merchants also use the scales. But notice that bird head on a human body. This is in ancient Egypt. The supposed soul of a person or god which survived after death, but had to be sustained with offerings of food. It was typically represented as a human-headed bird, which is what that thing is. And also, so what you're seeing here is, so they're weighing, this is a feather supposedly on the scales, and when you die, they take your heart to see if it weighed more than that of a feather to decide whether you're going to go to like whatever, their heaven or hell. You've got this crocodile-headed, lion-maned, lion-pawed, hippo-bodied, kind of lower half thing. I don't know what they call it. They call it something. I can't remember now. But all these hieroglyphs, so you've got your one eye things there, you've got your owl symbols there. So the hieroglyphs. I also looked at the hieroglyphs and I saw GP holy heirs, and those, so general practitioners, holy heirs, hairs or heirs, hog ply, and that reminded me of, you know, I'm obsessed with that Operation Warp Speed, because there's your heirs, like the heirs are wealthy people, family lines, bloodlines, heirs, hog ply, and heirs sow, because hog is sow, and then heirs Operation Warp Speed ply, which ply just means, what's it mean? To use or wield diligently. And ply is also to work steadily at something, which I think that they've been showing that a lot lately in the last great handful of years. And looking at Egypt and reading about Egypt here, this is just sort of strange, I thought. I'm going to read it. The A group, they called it an A group. The A group was the first powerful culture of northern Nubia, a society whose ancient name is unknown, called A group by archaeologists, was the earliest Nubian culture with strong rulers. Developing out of Neolithic cultures of the Nile Valley, the A group is known largely from its cemeteries. So they are so obsessed with death, but so A group is known largely from its cemeteries. Its burials, artifacts, and rock art are found along the Nile from the Kubania, whatever, north of the first cataract to the second cataract. Those are like eye things, problems. Much of the power and wealth of the A group came from trade. From trade. Who else do you know that are like great? The merchants. I just want to read one thing I found in Revelation 18:23. It says, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." Here's one more. Each of these verses discloses a partial feature of these merchants. First, we notice that the merchants of the earth are waxed rich because of their ability to trade with Babylon, and they become rich through the abundance of Babylon's delicacies. Secondly, the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over Babylon's fall because there is no one left to buy their merchandise anymore. Thirdly, the merchants that were made rich from Babylon shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, for the fear of her divine judgment. Finally, verse 23 states that Babylon's merchants were the great men of the earth, and by the harlots' sorceries were all the nations of the earth deceived. Same thing, that was Revelation 18:23 too. Also, I mean. And this site at testallthings.com, it says, these merchants are not merchandising any literal and material commodities. They are trafficking strictly in spiritual merchandise. Just as there are wheat and tares, believers and non-believers, dwelling together within the corporate church, likewise there are true merchants and false merchants, which is just another way of saying true and false Christians. As we look in the New Testament and determining the truth behind the biblical term merchant, we notice that apart from the book of Revelation, this word merchant is used only in Matthew chapter 13, where we read a very short parable. So this is sort of weird when you kind of read through this whole thing. It's almost as Klaus Schwab says, is you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's kind of weird to me. I mean, this whole thing about the merchants and selling the spiritual. So I'm not going to keep getting deeper into this, but this also is kind of weirdly, it questions, maybe this is why in Revelations a lot of people don't want to look at it or don't go to it, because it basically says that have they peddled the gospel of Christ? So remember how up here it said that how they are trafficking in spiritual merchandise. So it's just sort of strange, the word merchandise and the merchants, but the scale was one sign for the merchants as well. And this picture is weird too, and how it cut it off, because this person is holding a hand of someone. So you see there's a little foot and there's a hand, but they don't show it. So I'm trying to see, were they holding another person of color? Was it a slave? Who was it? And then we've got that. And you know, it's kind of funny. Here's an Egyptian paratrooper. And when I look up the word Egyptian, this is called like an Egypt, Sheriff something, whatever. But this is like an Egypto edition. These are the game controllers, the Xbox controllers, which I think are kind of weird how they use the word Egyptian. And we had that, just the game controllers, real versus fake. You got Facebook custom gaming controllers. And here's the Boring Company's best video game ever. I think that's just sort of weird. And the little suicide squads with the little skulls and drippy faces. Worst heroes ever. And here's all your Disney. Again, you got the skull. You've got that hair thing flipped like that. Got the black and white theme going, drippy heads. Anyhow, that was just a weird little interview. No questions asked about the weird Jester kind of outfit. Jordan and Kofifi are the exact same numerology, which is also at 775, an MK mind control program. MK. Could MK be mankind? Anyhow, I personally think that they continue to make the chaos for people so they can try to control them more and more and more. And they just sort of lead us around with their entertainment and their symbols and their circus. Okay, I'm going to go. Okay, bye you guys.